Bang Out Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I go by the name of Papa Jr. What's going on, people? How Dixie Carter ran TNA into the mother ground. This video is by Stunned by Wrestling. I'm enjoying Stunned by Wrestling's content, man. Seriously, I really am. I suggest y'all subscribe if y'all haven't to his channel. I ain't gonna waste your time. What else I gotta say? She had Hulk Hogan there, Ric Flair there. She had who else? Listen, I just got out the gym. I'm tired, but at the same time, I still feel good. I ain't gonna waste your time, man. Intro too long, long enough. 45 seconds too long. Let's get it, y'all.
By 2002, wrestling fans were desperate for an alternative to WWE.
Yeah.
WCW and ECW were dead, and nobody had successfully stepped up to challenge Vince McMahon. But Jeff Jarrett saw a chance to do something different in the wrestling business, and so he created Total.
Tony Khan tried. The first 3 years, let me see, 2019, 2020, 2021, and half of 2022. 2020. I'll give them 2022. So the first 4 years, no, hold on. They started Dynamite end of 2019, but then 2020. It sucks that the COVID era came in, bro. 2020, bro, because AEW they were just going up, man. With Cody, all these guys. Who knows what we was gonna have? Blood and Guts with Cody, the Bucks, Kenny Omega. I believe it was a 4-on-4 with the Inner Circle. And that shit would have been dope. And then COVID happened. So they were doing their thing. And then now, I think after Punk left, everything just went. No, after Cody left, things was dying down. CM Punk came back and went up a little bit. They fire Punk. They just going down, down, and down, and down. Creatively. They have great wrestlers. They still put out great wrestling. I'm not gonna lie to you. With the Will Ospreays, come on, Will Ospreays comes to my mind right away. Will Ospreay's a fucking fantastic wrestler, one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world right now. Kenny Omega there. I'm not going to say Okada because Okada in AEW has been seriously. This is not an AEW fucking video, but you get what I mean. Competition. That's what he said. So anybody's not like close to near competing with WWE. Now McMahon is not there no more. Triple H took over. Took him a while. Now WWE is back on top, man.
Non-stop action. He launched with a unique pay-per-view model where for $9.99 a week, fans could tune in and watch the show live. It was an interesting strategy, but it just didn't work. Not many fans wanted to pay for wrestling on a weekly basis, and Jarrett started to run out of money pretty fast. And that's where Dixie Carter stepped in. At the time, Dixie wasn't a wrestling promoter. She ran a sports and music management firm in Nashville, and she was doing the marketing for TNA in early 2002. She liked Jarrett and she saw potential in his company, so she convinced her dad Bob to invest. Bob Carter was the billionaire owner of Panda Energy, and his company purchased a controlling stake in TNA, immediately taking control of the business. Dixie was installed as TNA's new president, and just like that, the company was saved from going under. To begin with, Dixie was only involved in the corporate side of the business, and she left Jeff to continue running the creative side of things. In 2004, TNA got a slot on Fox Sports Net, which is when Impact was created. But TNA were actually paying them for the airtime, which meant that they were spending money rather than making it. Dixie knew that if TNA was ever going to become a real...
I mean, I like the idea. Spend money to make money, but damn, you're spending money on a fucking slot. on the fucking, out of all channels, Fox Sports. I get it, trying to get more eyes out there for the public, get it on TV. Totally understand, bro. But that's a risk right there. Out of all channels, Fox, you're paying them for a slot. Sheesh.
competitor, it had to be on national television, and in 2005 she got the opportunity. WWE had just left Spike TV, moving back to the USA network, and the channel wanted to keep wrestling on their schedule. Dixie
Live 3 hour event Raw back in the USA network.
personally handled negotiations with Spike and secured one of the most important deals in TNA history. She got it.
So it kind of paid off. Kind of paid off. Spike scene, they were on Fox, but everything worked out well. But it was risky.
Impact a place on the network. This was the company's first real shot at competing with WWE. Impact being on Spike made TNA feel like it was a real alternative, and it started to attract some big names. Christian Cage signed with them shortly after leaving WWE, and Sting made the decision to sign a full-time contract with them too.
That's where I started watching TNA. It was on Spike. I had no idea they were on Fox Sports.
And a year later, TNA pulled off one of its biggest signings ever, Kurt Angle. This was Dixie Carter's peak as president of the company. By 2009, it was in great shape. It had been profitable for a few years, its international presence was growing, and it had a strong lineup of homegrown talent and big names on the roster. TNA had a really strong identity, as it emanated from the Impact Zone in Florida every week, and the six-sided ring made it feel unique. The fans were invested and loud as well for such a small arena, and Impact was pulling around 2.5 million viewers every single week, which was a more than respectable.
Forgot the guy's name, man, that was next to Mike Tenay. Forgot his name, man. Y'all can let me know in the comments, but RIP, bro.
Number at the time, but soon some of Dixie's decisions would start to raise concerns. One of her most controversial moves was getting rid of Jeff Jarrett. As I mentioned earlier, he was handling all of the wrestling side of the business because, love him or hate him, that's what he was good at. He knew the wrestling industry inside out. But Jarrett had entered a relationship with Karen Angle, Kurt Angle's ex-wife. Reports from the time suggest that this caused massive tension backstage, and Kurt wasn't happy. So rather than keeping Jarrett in power, Dixie made the decision to remove him from his role in the company. He wasn't just taken off TV, he was completely stripped of influence, and he eventually left TNA, the company that he'd founded, entirely. And now Dixie was making all of the big calls on her own, and the next decision that she made would change the face of TNA forever, and not in a good way.
Oh God.
Looking for a way to take TNA to the next level.
And they switched the rings, bro. That six-sided ring was unique. When I first saw that in TNA, I believe it was in '08. I believe I started watching it. I was like, what the fuck? They got six sides? I liked it. It was unique. It was different. And the way the wrestlers was using it, it was dope. And then this cocksucker over here changed it to 4.
She signed Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, and not
It's 4 now, but at the time it was dope.
just as on-screen
I'm like-
talent. She basically gave them Jarrett's job, and the moment they arrived, they started making big changes to TNA. They got rid of the six-sided ring, which upset the loyal fans immediately, and they started signing all of their friends to contracts. Scott Hall, Sean Waltman, the Nasty Boys, Val Venus, even Bischoff's own son Garrett and Hogan's daughter Brooke got jobs on the TNA gravy train. Washed up veterans Nepo babies, and even Hogan's best friend, Bubba the Love Sponge, pushed aside the talent who had helped build TNA in the first place. It was kind of like WCW all over again. The show was filled with older guys
Oh
taking up
God.
space on TV while the younger talent faded into the background.
The
Instead of
band?
being an
Oh
alternative to
God.
WWE, TNA now looked like a retirement home for ex-WWE guys. And then Bischoff convinced
Oh my
Dixie to
God.
make her biggest mistake yet. TNA moved to Monday nights, directly competing with
I remember that. I wasn't happy about that shit. I'm like, you really gonna compete with Monday Night Raw? Seriously? I wasn't happy with seeing all those old heads, bro, at the time, man. Yo. It was laughable and I wasn't happy about it. Seriously. I really enjoyed TNA being its own. It's the word entity. Is that the right word? I'm bilingual. Bear with me. Its own mother. You feel me? TNA is TNA. It was like every Thursdays, I believe, at the time on Spike. Like, be your own. Don't worry about the fucking competition, bro. Do your own shit, cause that's gonna fuck you up. WWE been around for over fucking 100 years. Feel me? Like,
WWE Raw. It seemed like Bischoff wanted to recreate the Monday Night Wars that he'd lost back in the 90s, and it was a disaster. Impact got crushed in the ratings every week. But that's not all. They decided to take TNA out of the Impact Zone and onto the road, but they found it difficult to sell the tickets out, and these decisions cost the company an insane amount of money. Reports suggest that TNA lost around $13 million in a matter of just a few months, and then, in a confusing move, they changed the name of the promotion from TNA to Impact Wrestling, and the quality of the show itself also started to take a nosedive. Not only had Hogan and Bischoff prioritised their old friends, they also authorised a lot of terrible storylines. Absolute nonsense like the AJ Styles and Claire Lynch storyline and Abyss and Hogan's Magic Hall of
oh,
Fame
I
ring.
remember that shit. She had a picture of him and her that they were sleeping together. She showed it in the Titantron. I was like, what the fuck? I enjoyed Abyss, man. Every time Abyss was in the ring, I'm like, I prepare for chaos.
And who can forget Immortal, which was another storyline that dragged on for months. All of these things alienated the dedicated fan base that TNA had built up before Hogan and Bischoff arrived in the company. By now, TNA was struggling financially, and so Panda Energy cut off their funding. With all of the losses that they'd taken, it was no longer viable for this billion-dollar company to prop up Total Non-Stop Action. Dixie acquired their stake in the company herself, and this was her opportunity to restructure the business, but she didn't. Instead, she brought in a load more ex-WWE wrestlers, but they didn't bring the viewers back, and the ratings on TV and the pay-per-view buy
Aces
rates
and eights.
started to go through the floor. And then she let AJ Styles walk away. For over a decade, AJ had carried TNA on his back, and he was one of their few homegrown main event stars. But Dixie decided to make AJ a low contract offer. It was so low, in fact, that he found it unacceptable, and so he left the company. And it wasn't just him. Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and so many other wrestlers all left around the same time. These were the stars that Dixie should have rebuilt the company around, but they all went to WWE instead.
Bobby Roode, man. He was great. I enjoyed him with Beer Money, him and James Storm, and then Robert Roode, he fucking turned on him, fucking hit him with a fucking glass bottle, or was it the other way around? Let me know in the comments, man. But I remember that. That feud between those two guys. Bobby Roode was fucking great.
instead.
What happened to James Storms, man?
And somehow she still wasn't done making the product worse as she started appearing on TV as a character. Dixie Carter became an on screen authority figure in the company, playing an evil boss character similar to Stephanie McMahon. She started cutting long, scripted, unbearable promos where she talked like a bad soap opera villain, and then she was involved in one of the most heavily criticised angles in TNA history. It was 2013 and Hulk Hogan's contract was up and he was going to leave the company. But instead of cutting their losses, Dixie literally got on her knees on live TV and begged him to stay. She clung onto his leg like a child, pleading with him not to leave. In reality, of course, she knew that he wasn't coming back. So why did she agree to do this segment? It just made TNA as a whole look incredibly weak. By now, the company was in financial difficulty. They'd lost millions of dollars and lost the trust of the fans too. And then they lost their TV deal. Allegedly, Spike TV had one rule: do not bring back Vince Russo. Whatever the reason, they reportedly didn't want him being employed by TNA. But Dixie decided to hire him anyway. For
Wow.
months, she kept Russo's involvement in the company a secret, thinking that Spike would never find out. But then she made a big mistake. She accidentally sent an internal email to a Spike TV executive, and in that email it revealed that Russo was back in the business. And so Spike decided not to renew TNA's
Wow.
TV deal.
All because
Being
of
on
one
television
guy.
was one of the few things the company
All because of one bro.
still had going for it, and it just disappeared in a cloud of smoke, along with all of the money that came with it. So Dixie had to start taking out loans from people. She got funding from Anthem Sports, which was the company that owned Fight Network. She also borrowed money from the Harris brothers and took a major loan from Billy Corgan. Corgan was the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins and a lifelong wrestling fan, and he genuinely believed he could turn TNA around. Corgan took on a leadership role in the company, but Dixie didn't want to let go. She assured Corgan that TNA's financial issues would be sorted out and that he would eventually take control of the company. Reportedly, she kept on accepting his investment while refusing to let him take the reins as agreed. Corgan sued, arguing that TNA was out of money and that Dixie's mismanagement had contributed to its financial problems. But in the end, a Nashville judge ruled against him and his attempt to take control was blocked. Instead, Anthem stepped in, bought Corgan's loans, which left them in control of TNA, and that was the end of Dixie Carter. She wasn't trying to kill her own company, she was just way in over her head in the wrestling business.
Man, bro, TNA struggled and struggled, bro. They've been through so much to get back on their feet after Dixie Carter, bro. Now, when was this it past January when they switched back to TNA? Hard to Kill, that first pay-per-view. Once they went back to TNA, they felt like this is a fresh restart. And it was. It was, yes. I believe it was this past January, yeah. And it was. Because they're going up, up, up. And now they have a partner agreement, whatever, with the top company, top wrestling company in the world. The number one wrestling company in the world. WWE, man. Like this, stay in bed together. Even though we don't got main rosters in TNA in the main roster, but hopefully we get something like that in the future. Hopefully we get Joe Hendry this Monday tagging with Jey Uso. There's a mystery partner there. They're gonna be in Scotland. Hopefully, man. But NXT superstars going to TNA, TNA superstars going to fucking NXT. It's been great. The fans are loving it. They're getting more attention from they're gaining more fans back, bro. TNA. This fucking great. Though what sucks is that they're in a channel that barely anybody has. Access TV. A lot of people don't have that channel. But there's another way to watch TNA. What is that? TNA Impact Plus, some subscription, some membership you got to get on. I think it's like $10 a week. I mean $10 a month or some shit like that. And you get the weekly TNA shows. I'm just happy TNA. At first I was like, I don't know, man. It's just not the same. They've been so fucking like tarnished and is that the right word? Fucking they were done dirty. The brand TNA was done so fucking dirty, bro. Hulk Hogan, Bischoff, all these old guys, Dixie Carter. They no. And that was one of those people that said, fuck it, I'm out of here. When was the main event Mafia? I was watching at that time. Was it at the same time with Aces and Eights? I like the main event Mafia. I'm not gonna lie. They were alright. At Sting, Kurt Angle, who else? I think Steiner. Anyways. Yeah, Steiner, I believe. Yeah. But I'm just happy TNA right now. They're doing great. They have great wrestlers. They had wrestlers like Jordan Grace. Now she's in NXT. Moose is still killing it in TNA, man. Came to Roadblock NXT, had a great fucking match with Obafemi. TNA, they're doing great right now. And they're fucking touring. They're going, you know, to different cities and shit, man. I'm happy for them. I really am happy for them. Seriously. Guys, this is the end of the video. Appreciate you if you made it this far in the video. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, comment down below. Favorite moments of TNA or moments that you were like, damn, bro, I'm done with TNA. I'm curious. Appreciate ya. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, man. Till next time.
Goodbye. Mwah, and good night, bang.
Peace.